And now for something a little different.
Spiky Bits.
Welcome back, Hobby Maniacs. I'm Ron Bear from SpikyBits.com, and in this video we're going to unbox and build the Slaves to Darkness Army box, including showing you how to hopefully build and magnetize and make all the versions of the new Chaos Demon prints inside, so you can make it for Sigmar and also Warhammer 40k, which is really exciting because we haven't seen a new Demon prints in like, I want to say like 20 years. Might have been 2003 if I had a guess, although I don't think there has been a plastic one yet. Yeah, I think it was that pewter one, which was pretty dope for its time, and then they came out with a Nurgle one in like 2006, which was also pretty cool. They did come out with a plastic one eventually, that's right. I don't know when that came out though. But it is, if I had to guess, roughly the same size as this one. Just maybe this one's a little bit better proportions, I suppose. But either way, they were great for their time. And now this one seems to be even better because it can be used for either system, making it definitely probably going to be one of GW's best sellers, if I had to guess. So this box here is $200 from them this November of 2022. But let's take a look at the value inside compared to, you know, other similar items, and then kind of get some ideas of what that actually equates out to. We're going to show you the sprues. We're going to go over the instructions because I actually really like how they laid out these sprues. Actually, a lot of the chaos stuff and a lot of units, they've been doing a really good job laying out of the sprues, so you can make a bunch of different variants of all of the models and not just get stuck with constantly having a standard or a musician, and then you're like, well, crap, well, I want to find more guys, you know, and that sort of thing, and it's kind of frustrating. But they're definitely bringing some solid value inside this box, I feel like. And then we're going to build the models, and that'll be the funnest part, hopefully. So jumping over to the site, you can see we put out this article, I don't know, some recently, going over what we thought was our best guesses, because of course these have not come out individually yet, but you know, there's a little bit of historical data here that we can see. So the Demon prints, I think we had at $65. Now that's the same at price as the Lord Discordant for Warhammer 40k, which might be actually a little low. I could see this being as much as $80. I mean, I think 65 is close, but I don't think it's going to be 65. I think it'll be more. The Chosen, I imagine, are going to be $60 for 5. We put them in here a little weird. The recent Lumineth Blade Lord 5-man squads, like their elite kind of type deals, are 5 for $60. The Myrmidons for Slanesh are 5 for $60. I don't see why these aren't going to be $60. But you know, they could go for 10 for 60, but I seriously doubt it. But we'll see. The Ogroids put at $60 as well. Could be as low as 55, I suppose, based on the recent troll releases. I think the River Trolls are 55, and I think the Rock Trolls are 60. I imagine they'll be 60. World Scroll cards and Battle Tome put at standard prices, but there are the enhancement card decks that come in this, which you can see in this picture right here. And I'm not sure if that's gonna increase the price of this pack at all, because that's a lot. That's actually a lot of War Scroll cards for a set, and generally they raise the price a little bit. But this is a good middle of the road, which kind of gets you somewhere between $275 and $333, which is really kind of on point with what we've seen of value out of these army boxes in the past. So, you know, you're looking at anywhere between $75 and hopefully about $125 if you spend $200 retail on this. So obviously the big question everybody always asks is, well, is it worth it? And you know, there's a lot of ways to answer that. If you've been waiting for Slaves of Darkness reboot from the Start Collecting box 2 years ago, then yeah, this is probably worth it to you. You know, you'll get the book ahead of time, you'll get some of the new dope units, and you're off to the races, right? Because, well, you just basically need some Chaos Knights and some Chaos Warriors, I suppose. I'm not exactly sure how Slaves of Darkness play currently in this edition or of Sigmar, but that being said, I could see where some Warhammer 40k players would want this this box as well because of the Demon print. So I'm sure he will sell for a lot on the secondary market for people that are doing box breaks and, you know, kind of tearing these boxes apart. So that's going to be really interesting to see. So I think overall, you know, regardless of whether it's a $75 savings or value or a $233 value, I think that this is probably going to sell better than most of the army boxes we've seen so far. And well, maybe not for the Cadian one, because well, the Cadian one's coming later on. I can see where that's going to be very popular for Warhammer 40k. But I think if you're into Slaves of Darkness or thinking about picking up some sort of chaos type army for Sigmar, this would be a great starting point. And you know, there is some inherent built-in value. Now, jumping into the box set itself, it's laid out a little bit different than what we normally see. Normally there's like a flip kind of slide cover type deal, and you kind of pull the tray out. This is just a simple like box like we've seen with the battle boxes recently. All of the sprues are going to be on the top, and then there's this divider in here. And we showed you in the past, or I think in a recent article, how you can actually use these and make posters. If all you got to get is an 11 by I think 18 frame. You might want to Google that, or maybe I could put it in the comments below. So the sprues themselves are going to be 2 identical sprues for the Chosen, and we'll take a closer look at those here in a minute. Let me find a place to stash these. Then you're going to get the Ogre sprues, which I believe are also 2. Nope, there's going to be 3. So that's 3 sprues right there. And then the Demon Prince sprues themselves, which there's a lot of stuff on here. We'll talk about that here in a second. Here's, like I said, that divider. And the reason this is in here, if you're unfamiliar with these, is so that it takes impact and damage and protects the components underneath, like this really nice brand new spanking rulebook. In this side, here's the enhancement cards and the 60 mil base. And then over here's the War Scroll cards. And look at that. That's a lot of War Scroll cards. That is definitely at least 3350. That's a lot. That's probably going to be more than that, but we'll see. And then all the other bases here. So don't forget that there's something in each one of those. And then on the back of this, besides having a really cool graphics down there, is the instructions manual for assembling these guys. So taking a look at the instructions, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on here, but here's all the sprues. So it's 3, 2, 3, and you know, 2 sets of 2 there. 60 mil, 50 mils for the Ogrids, and then 4. This is really on 40 mils. Holy cow! The Chosen are on 40 mils. I did not even notice that quite yet. Well, that's pretty cool. I do like how they put the little ring here, so you can tell what size bases everything is. That's pretty neat. I guess I didn't mention that $200 price tag. There's only 14 models in here. So if you start thinking about the average cost of a model right there, that's it's significantly more than it seems. But like I said, you know, there is other ways to kind of gauge the value. Now, this is a really interesting build. Let me put the light over here a little bit. So this is a really interesting build. So basically, they want you to kind of build up the superstructure of the body with the legs and the tail section, but not the final like tail end or tail tips. And then you can decide how you want to mount it to the base. If you want to go with the hooves right here, or if you want to go with claws right here. I think with ours we're going to go with claws, and then it kind of leads you down the road there. But what you also kind of have to figure out at this point is which, depending on the pose, and they don't show it right here. Oh, I guess they do, because he's kind of going to the left and he's kind of going to the right here. So there's going to be a different neck piece, and this is really important because I've already figured out which neck piece goes with what. And this 829 neck piece is going to go with the 40k bits, and over here this 828 neck piece that's looks like it's slightly looking to the right goes with at least the right arm. The left arms are the same, but this is going to go with only the AOS arms. So keep that in mind when you're building this, because as you're about to see, they don't show you the 40k instructions, like how to make the 40k version of the Demon Prince. So you kind of had to reverse engineer it, or I'll kind of show you what I was able to figure out on this one. And then from there, you figure out which arm pose you want. And unfortunately, for Warhammer 40k, it's going to be this arm pose right here, whereas for Sigmar, it's going to be this arm pose right here. So but it's going to look a little different because you don't actually use these bits right here for Warhammer 40k. That's only for Sigmar. So we'll just get to that here in a minute. So then from there, once you get all that locked in, you're going to glue this arm to this bit here on the front, this chest piece right here, and it's going to leave a little it looks like a little divot here in the front for your armor plating. Now, This is, of course, going to be different depending on what you do for Warhammer 40k or what you choose for Warhammer 40k. Now, it's the same bit. It's this A33 bit is going to be for Warhammer 40k or Sigmar. It doesn't quite matter. But there is another bit that you can put on here that they're going to actually, I think they show you. No, they don't show it to you here. So you're going to want to use that 133. And then over here on this area right here, this A35, you won't use that arm for Warhammer 40k. I'll show you which bits they use based on the sprue, but we'll get to that here in a minute. And then from there, you glue on the whatever, if you want the axe or you want the sword right here. Now, keep in mind, these areas right here are open. So these bracer areas where you're going to put those bracers on for Sigmar, that area is open. So you actually have to use the bracer to kind of put it onto these hands, because these hands have notches in it. So the hand actually won't attach to the arm unless you put the bracer in. But then you're locking yourself basically into choosing a weapon at that point. Now, did the weapons matter? Well, not really in 40k or Sigmar, but you know, that's not to say that it won't change in a future edition. So we could magnetize this, and we'll either attempt it or show you how to do it here in a few minutes ourselves. I'm not sure what kind of time we're going to have, because this is already kind of looking to be a little problematic when it comes to modularization. Now, from there, you're going to put the shoulders on here, and there's actually another set of both of these shoulder pads that they don't show you that aren't necessarily 40k-ish, but they could be 40k. Now, this front piece is not 40k. And this is the one they recommend for Age of Sigmar. The 40k one's actually going to have hoses that actually wrap around and kind of attach to the demon prints on the back. And then right here, oh, that's the A31. So this A28 is going to be the one that uses the 40k bits, and this A31 is going to be specifically with this arm out, and that actually doesn't work for any of the 40k bits. And then jumping over to the rest of the build, the wings go together. This one is 2 pieces, and then you got to put this little winglet on top right here, a little pinion, I guess. And then the other one is just 1 set of wings. Oh well, I skipped that. It doesn't matter. And then back here, you have the option of doing the 2 wings or trophy racks, and then you have one of each head for a dedicated god, as well as I think it's 2 generic heads. Yeah, it looks like 2 generic heads right here. And then they also have the icons that are going to go on the shoulder pads, which they show you right here. And then also a little tail tipper that goes on there for both of them. But I just used this one right here because I think it goes best with the actual tail structure itself. I'm like, and at some point you just kind of customizing a little too much, and then they show you what all the different heads are going to look like over here, which is pretty neat. Now, what they don't show you in this instructions, because then it just goes into Chosen, is the 40k versions of all this, and there's actually a Chaos Space Marine backpack that can go on here. And this is an interesting, and I don't know if we can zoom in on this, or I can just pick it up because that'd be a lot easier, is there's an interesting slot in I guess hole system here, like a shoe, like a slot shoe, and then just a hole in a stud, but they're backwards. So that's going to be really interesting to try to magnetize this and make it so that you can put all 3 things on there, and I'm not exactly looking forward to it, to be quite honest with you. Then jumping into the Chosen are really neat, and I kind of mentioned to it already how you can either do like a champion or a regular dude, or the standard and a regular dude, or the musician and a regular dude. They have all the variants in here that you can actually build. So, you know, if you buy 5, you can get 5 regular dudes, or you can get your command, you know, whatever you want. And it's pretty neat. And I kind of I definitely applaud them for doing that. That's really good design theory and everything. As far as putting them together, it doesn't seem too awful hard. You know, it's basically like 4 parts, I guess. 1, 2, 3, actually 3 with that, because 1, 2, 3, yeah, 4. So 4 parts, and then you just figure out what arms and what head you want, and then you're pretty much good to go, which is really nice. And like I said, those are all the different, you got the champion, you got the standard. Oh, and something really cool about the standard is that you can pick which little symbol you want to put on there. Yeah, so there's 5 different symbols that you can put on there. You can go undivided, or you can kind of mark them, so to speak, with whatever god. And then when it comes to the big fatties right here, They also come, you can make them the different ways depending on, you know, kind of how you want to do it. Like you just want regular dudes with the axes, and I think you can actually flip the axes if I recall correctly in here, or get the dudes with the shield. Let's see, I thought you could, there's a musician or a dude with a shield or the axe. I thought you could flip the axe, I might be wrong. That one you could do either, I guess. Oh, okay. Well, might have misremembered that. Looks like it's a right axe. Those are all right axes. Yeah. So there is a way to kind of do the posture, depending on what you want to do. You can do holding them right axe or holding them left axe, or do the sword and board, or you can have your musician and then of course your standard. So the modularity here is kind of off the charts if you start thinking about it. And they managed to fit all that on just through 3 sprues. The same with the Chaos Demon prints. They managed to fit both a 40k version and an AOS version on 3 sprues. It's kind of a really super efficient design and usage, and I definitely applaud them for doing that. Now let's take a look at the sprues themselves, hopefully for not too long, and then actually get into the build. So this is the Chaos Demon print sprues, and you can see the 2 halves of the wings right here, the 1 single wing, and then you've got all the different parts here. But then you start seeing stuff that's kind of weird, like, hey, that's a Chaos Space Marine backpack. Hey, that's a Chaos arm sort of thing. So there's a lot of different stuff on here that you didn't see in those instructions, like this as well, and this bit right here, and these right here are the chest armor pieces, so that you aren't going to recognize quite at first, and then once you, well, I mean, if you're just doing the AOS, then you're going to put that together and have a lot of bits left over. Here is the back that I was talking about, and you can see kind of what I was saying. Like there's a slot and then a stud, or a hole and then a slot and a hole, and they're kind of flipped and reversed, and it's a little weird. And that's what these wings and everything are going to go into. So here you can see the slot and then the stud. And it's going to give it really good stability, and hopefully with that little stud we could do some magnetization as well, so that the wings don't torque. So like if you have put a magnet at the top, then when and that thing's not having an easy time focusing on my hand, probably because it's so translucent, that so if you put something in like a magnet on the top of the wing and you have that stud on the bottom, hopefully the wing doesn't twist or doesn't torque, so the stud would be locked into the back of the Demon Prince plate. Now here's the Ogre sprues, like I was saying, and it's kind of wild that they fit all that modularity onto this. And this is a great big standard right here. Like these sprues are generally, I think, around 6 inches tall, and that thing takes up almost the whole thing. And look at those shields. Those shields are chonky AF. Like I really like the look of that, and these swords over here are pretty huge too. And if you think about it, I mean, the Ogre Thaumaturge from, what was it, one of the sold separately, and I think he was also available. No, there was one in the Warcry box. Those are both 35 bucks, and if this comes in at 65, in GW money it seems like a good value. I mean, in real money we can complain about, you know, the price of GW all day, but it really doesn't seem that bad once you start comparing things to each other. And then there's 2 sprues that are identical that each make the 5 Chaos Chosen rather. And these things are also pretty modular when you start thinking about it. You've got your icons here that go in the standard, depending on how you want to do it, and then all the versions of their weapons as well. And it just seems like, again, very efficient usage of the sprue. So let's get some stuff built and then hopefully conquer this Demon Prince. So for the Chosen, we put together a standard, and this guy is pretty dope. I'll be quite honest with you. It's probably some of the most detailed Chaos Warrior-esque, it's obviously not a Chaos Warrior specifically, models that GW has put out. And man, he's just really cool. And check out this standard bearer here. You can do a lot with that, and then it's got some little ornamentation and things across the top. The head looks pretty striking and stuff. Look at all that crispy detail in there. All that armor trim. These are 40 mil bases, which I didn't quite realize at first, but pretty wild. And then here's how it stacks up to a Stormcast Eternal. So right about the same size, to be quite honest, which I think is a very, very good scale. And then we got just a random warrior, Ogrid warrior here, and looks very similar to the Ogrid stuff we've seen in the past. You know, nice and detailed. He's got his tactical rock, of course. This thing This axe is very cool. It's got the chaos symbol in it, and the tabard and things. And a little, I guess to him, maybe like a short sword or dagger, but to, you know, a Stormcast Eternal is like basically the same height almost as his torso. Kind of wild when you start thinking about it. Just how big these guys really are, and lots of cool detail up here in the mohawks. A couple different pieces too, so it really gives it some depth, and the composition is pretty cool. Definitely something fun to paint. Now let's jump into the demon print. Let me find him. I already lost him. Let me find him, and let's jump into the demon prints. Okay, I found the demon prints. There's a lot of stuff on my desk, so I lost him there for a second. So you might also notice that that he's not finished, and there's a reason for that. I'm going to talk about it here in a sec. But you can see where I used the Nurgle tail on the back here, because I think that looked probably the best, and it kind of goes with the tail there the best. So I'm not too worried about that. We're going with Nurgle. Now here's why I kind of stopped right here, because I wanted to show you guys that I had already screwed up, and there was really no fixing it. So this piece here is glued together at the arm, and this is the one I was showing you that will only work for AOS. So if you go back in the instruction manual, let's see which one you're going to need for 40k. And I realized once I got up to here that I really needed to put some magnets in there, and it was going to be very hard to do at this point, and I should have done it. I should have put some magnets in there before I glued all the pieces around it. So don't make that mistake if you're me, but I'm pretty sure this is going to work, and let me show you exactly what I'm talking about. So these wings, like I was showing earlier, they slot in to there. So there's a little nub and there's a little slot, and they just kind of lock in like that, which is great. But there's rules in you know, AOS Slaves of Darkness, like you get a bonus if you have wings, you get a bonus if you don't, or you don't get a bonus. There's a different bonus if you don't have wings. So it's actually, some lists might run a demon prince without wings, so I could see where maybe you wouldn't want the wings. 40k doesn't matter quite as much, but for this I could actually see it. So what you're going to want to do is probably put a large 1/4 inch magnet, 2 of them in here, one over each side of the slot structure. So basically, if this is the inside, we would put a 1/4 inch magnet. But what I think is you put a 1/4 inch magnet over this slot, a 1/4 inch magnet over this slot, a 1/8 inch magnet over each of those holes. And it has to be specific, and it has to be lined up to those holes, because what you're going to want to do is put a metal plate on these trophy racks right here, like cut these studs out, put a metal plate, and then that way it'll line up with those magnets, and it'll hopefully there'll be enough force through those slots and also through the plastic to hold it on. And the same thing with this. But for these, I think what I would do, and I'm not going to actually do it, is I'm going to get a 3/16 inch magnet and drill this out right here, and it would actually fit. 3/16 inch would fit right here. Down here though, you're not going to be able to do much, so you're going to have to use this to kind of stabilize the power of the magnet. So 3/16 up here, and then this is just going to lock in down here like normal, and that's why you want to put the magnets on the back of this, so you don't lose that little notch right there, because you're going to use the force of the magnet up here to actually lock in. So that's at least how I think it would work in theory, if you were to actually do it. But there's just no doing it now at this point. Now we have this arm in here, and this is really interesting how it's so, the tolerances are so good that you can basically lock that in, and it's super flush, which is kind of just crazy. And then let me show you, this is the, and I'll put this all together here in a second for the review and everything, but that's not it. This is it. This is the front chest piece. So the chest piece goes on there, but then there's also a Chaos Space Marine chest piece, which is this one right here. And you get this by, there's this skeleton looking bit right here, and it has 2 little dots on the side, and then you just glue this onto that. And to keep it more stabilized, there's these wire bits, or hose bits, and I think it's this one. No, it's that one over here. So this one goes over here, and then these actually just kind of wrap around haphazardly almost to the back here, and then you just glue them on to back here around either the backpack, which I'm about to show you. So here's the Chaos backpack, and then this actually there's no conflict right there. So for the Chaos backpack, you're probably going to want to put a 1/4 inch magnet just in there, and it should attract pretty good to just lock in there, and that kind of completes the magnetization of that. Now I didn't glue these down because, well, this one isn't going to be able to be a 40k version, unfortunately, because the 40k version uses a completely different arm. And let me show you these 40k bits so you can actually build them if you want the 40k. So this is going to be the model's right arm, and the right arm does not use this bit right here. The right arm actually uses, there's another bit in here, and I showed it to you in the instructions, which I can show you here in a second. This locks in right here, and you glue this one down, and it goes with a different neck piece as well. So this bit is this top, or this back plate, this top plate, and this little kind of horny bit or spiky bit that goes together to form that. And then this shooting gun over here that's going to hit the model's left arm is a left piece right here that's very similar to this. And then the actual nozzle of the gun, I think, is mostly on this outside bit. And then this bit right here goes on top. It's kind of like some wires. And then you got this this arm bit, which is pretty easily noticeable on the frame. So it's very easy to put together once you know what the pieces are. It's just a little kind of weird trying to figure out how all the stuff goes together without the actual instructions. And then from there you can put the hands aren't going to differ any. And what I would recommend doing perhaps is magnetizing the hands, because you can do this with a nice little 1/8 inch magnet. There's plenty of room in there where it's going to attach, because you can either use the hands or you can use the axe. And like I said, it doesn't super matter in Warhammer 40k, but going forward in the future, who knows what the rules are going to be like. Or you can use the sword right here, and I think in GW's big reveal they use the sword, and the sword's pretty cool looking, to be quite honest, so I'd probably go with the sword. And then over here you don't have really any option except for this hand with basically a big thumb claw, or just a kind of regular peasant hand right here. Just kind of depends on what your preference is right there. So those are basically your options. Like I said, you might want to draw out and magnetize this one right here if you're really interested in kind of future-proofing your model. From there, there's, like I said, if you're doing AOS, these don't really attach very well until you put the bracer bit on there. So you can easily put a magnet in here if you want to switch it for AOS, because it's already almost pre-drilled right there. And then you just got to find the appropriate bracer and just glue that down, and then you have your place to put the whatever weapon you want on the end there, and that's how that all goes together. So it's actually a pretty cool design by Games Workshop, again really showing that they know their chops. But it's a little frustrating if you're trying to figure out how to make all three, or you don't have the 40k version of instructions in the instruction manual like just happened right there. All of this stuff here is normal. It doesn't change between the two versions, at least there's no extra bits for it. There are a bunch of different shoulder pads. So you've got this shoulder pad, which I think they used in their reveal, and it locks in right here. And then you can have all the different symbols right there. That's the undivided symbol. And then there's this really cool kind of wild demon kind of look, and you could in theory put this on either shoulder. I think it fits up. It seems to fit up here pretty good. This one seems to fit here also very well, but I think this fits on here pretty good because it's assuming that you're not going to put the armor on here for the 40k one, because once you put the 40k armor on here, this whole profile changes. So there's that too. And then each of the heads just have this little square backer right here, and then you just boop, glue them down. I mean, in theory, you could magnetize those with a nice little 1/16 inch bit, or 1/16. You can even do, actually that would probably be a good 1/8 inch right there, but I don't really see why you want to do that, because I feel like at that point you're already going to know which head you want to do. This seems to be one that's on the fantasy or the Sigmar version, and then of course there's all the different ones right here. This guy has some chainmail on him, so I don't really see where he would look really good for 40k. But here's the Nurgle one, which I do like that one. But I don't feel like he's fat enough for Nurgle, so it kind of ruins the aesthetic for me. He is gaunty, so you know this could look pretty good for Slaanesh for sure. That's a pretty wild look. And then I thought there was one other generic head. I guess oh no, here it is. Oh no, that's the bird one. Bird Law. There's the Zeech one, and then this little guy right here. Nope, that's not him. I already did it. That was the tail. That's all the bits. Lots of stuff on my desk right here. So that's basically it, like how you would put this guy together. It's kind of unfortunate that I built this and I only have one of these, and I'm not going to spend $200 to build another one, or to buy another one and do it, and we're just kind of crunched for time. But I'm pretty sure that would work. If you do try to magnetize this, let us know in the comments if it kind of worked for you. And then let's just one more time, I'll show you the instructions right here, that just so you have those handy on which version goes where. So this one here, so this A29 neck, and this version of the arm, so A29 neck, and this right here is going to be, well, not the A24, but this neck, and then this bit right here. Where is it? Where's my 40k bits? Oh, here it is. And this bit right here is going to be for the right arm, and then for the left arm it doesn't matter. You just have to remember that when you get to this point to where they tell you to glue on A35 right here, just don't glue that on. Glue on this contraption right here, and that'll lock right in with that little muscle. The little muscle goes, it's roughly that right there. See the little strap, and there's a little strap right there. So it basically goes over that and glues in right there, and that becomes that one right there. So that is pretty much it. I can see, I definitely see some pros and cons to this kit, and it'd be very hard to magnetize, but I don't think it's not unworth it, knowing how much the rules change and things like that in 40k. Maybe not so much for Sigmar, but if you do want to have the wings off, I could see where that would be a thing for Sigmar as well. Ooh, let's zoom out a little bit. This guy's bigger when he's fully assembled. Okay, so here's the Demon Prince for AOS rather. Unfortunately, I couldn't do 40k version, but I just showed you how to do it with all the assemblies there and which instructions. But this is what it's going to look like when you get it all together, and it's very striking. It's on 60 mil base, very striking pose. Now we went with the claws. You can go with the hoofs, and it gives a little bit kind of different kind of stance. And then this is with the arm out and the neck to the left. There's one with the sword kind of up in the air and the head kind of a little this way, and that's the version that you're technically supposed to do, although I think it's just a different, I think this is the actual bit you use with this bit right here. I think it's actually the same bit right here for 40k, so it won't look much different. The 40k version will look very, very similar to this, although you can use this, and then I guess you wouldn't really have that 40k kind of look with all the tubes and everything there if you wanted it kind of higher up in the air. So you're kind of pigeonholed into this for 40k, and then the right or the left arm is just going to be the same for 40k. But I mean, it's very spectacular. You can see all the dope detail, the stacks of skulls back here, and then the tail, the tactical rock and everything, and all of these. And it comes with little different hanger honors, like you can have a Space Marine helmet with a chain. I didn't really show that bit. And there's a AOS Stormcast Eternal helmet that you can have dangling somewhere on here. There's a couple little dimple holes. Oh yeah, right here you can put, oh no, that's not it. That's actually part of a tear in there. I don't know where they're supposed to go, but you can just have them hanging kind of anywhere. Very similar to like Bellacore, I suppose. And then when it comes to size, like I said, this is about how big he is compared to a Stormcast, and then compared to a Primaris, who's actually on a smaller base, you're going to get about that big. So very similar to what you'd see with Bellacore size-wise right there. So very, very cool miniature, and that's what it looks like all assembled. So overall, I think in Games Workshop money, this is a great box for anybody interested in Slaves of Darkness, and perhaps if you are a 40k player and you want to get this just for the Demon prints, I mean, it's only gonna probably be $120 to $130 more than the Demon Prince box. So in GW money, you know, maybe it's worth it to pick it up and then resell the stuff, or just have it for conversions or something like that. Or perhaps you just want to hit up eBay or some of the trade Facebook groups so you can get that sweet Demon Prince. But I imagine it's going to go for $70 to $80. But either way, this seems like it's going to be a very good box retail wise. So I don't feel like you can go wrong for a number of reasons with this particular set, you know, if you have an extra $200 laying around. But that brings me to my next point. Don't forget, you can always get your hobbies for less from dicehead.com, Amazon, and hopefully your local game store. But before you jump over there, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you can be the very first to like and comment on all our videos. If you liked that video feature, consider supporting us over at patreon.com and get back in the mail each month a miniature crate full of some of the stuff we review here, as well as some of the top 3D artist designs out there too, to help support what they're doing. Plus discount coupon codes from some of those same manufacturers. They're yours to keep, whether you cancel or stay on. It's totally up to you. Obviously, we want to keep you as happy as possible. So check it out over at patreon.com/spikybits.